Hi, everybody. Just welcome to I believe it's the fourth class here of Saturday morning classes I've been offering on Lama Chopa and some teachings on sort of introduction to Tibetan Buddhism, in particular some teachings sort of sourced in LamRim, as well as some classes from the Asian Classics Institute. What we've been looking at the last few weeks has been teachings from the three principal paths of Buddhism. So Renunciation, Bodhicitta, and Wisdom realizing emptiness. So welcome. I'm just, hopefully this is okay for recording. I'm just recording this from Japan. I work as a flight attendant and I'm just here in Narita at the hotel. We're not, because of COVID rules, we're not allowed to leave the premises, unfortunately. Usually I have whole routine being here, coming here over 20 years. I go to the Narita-san Tantra Temple, Shingon Temple, which is about maybe half an hour away for fire puja in the morning that I'm here at 9 o'clock, and I really miss it. I haven't been doing that for a long time now, so I'm hoping eventually we can be allowed to leave the hotel, come and do it. I'd show everybody out the window here. It's a nice, beautiful, sunny winter day, but there's not a whole lot to see, just a bunch of other hotels near the airport and stuff. But anyway, it's in the morning here, and I'm gonna have to be leaving to fly back to Vancouver soon. So do the best I can to give a class today. I always want to keep things sort of consistent by doing them weekly. And I got some very positive feedback from my wife, Christina, on class last week that in 60 minutes, I'm probably trying to do too much, which is always a shortcoming in my character. And so I like to sort of simplify things down a little bit. We're still going to do probably the last 15 minutes of the hour with some teachings, and done sort of from sort of a heartfelt sort of, how would I say, kind of like experiential way of teaching these teachings on three principal paths. So we can just sort of be in a meditative state and go into them. And for the first little bit, of course, just doing led guided visualization meditation. So this week I'll just do Lama Chopa. Again, I'm just going to simplify it down, just more visualization and with meditation. I don't think it's been trying to recite the sadhana, but it's just we don't have enough time to try and do everything. So I'm just going to try and sort of pare it down to make it a little bit more straightforward for everybody. I think occasionally I'll also do Ganala Gema and a little bit of the Jorcho meditation as well in the coming weeks. So let's just start here with a little bit of 9-point breathing meditation, Pranayama. So if you know how to do this, just go ahead. We can do 3 rounds on our own time. If you don't do this, you can just take your hands here and you press the bottom, I guess, or the root of the ring finger with your thumb and curl them over, make a Vajra fist. So this activates different energy channels. Again, I believe it's in Taoism or Chinese medicine, you're sort of activating the heart and the lung meridians on here. So basically fire and metal, your capacity to feel and be reflective, as well as sort of heart is your spirit. So it's perfect sort of energy channels to sort of stimulate or open up for this kind of exercise. So again, what we'll be doing is just having this just on our lap or Tula Vajra fist, just at our hips. And we'll be closing, first of all, with our index finger of our right hand, closing our right nostril, inhaling through our left, then closing off our left nostril and exhaling through our right. Do this a total of 3 times, just feeling that all sort of desirous attachment, sort of hang-ups and so forth are all sort of, with each of these 3 breaths, being sort of vacated out, cleaned out. And then we reverse it where with our left index finger, we close our left nostril, inhale through our right, close our right nostril, exhale through our left. Anger, reactivity, resentment, frustration, all this kind of energy is getting sort of flushed out of our body as well, our subtle body. And then finally, just having our 2 hands just at our hips here. 3 deep breaths through both nostrils, inhale and exhale. So this is, of course, making a total of 9 breaths. And on the final 9th inhale, pardon me, just we inhale and then just hold the breath at the navel. So you can just put your mind just a little bit below your belly button. Just feel that your mind and your breath and the prana or energy are all mixing together, just sort of at the navel chakra. And when it's just a little bit more uncomfortable or you're ready to exhale, just sort of release and exhale. Okay, so we'll do this 3 times on our own here. So just reciting the Heart Sutra here to start. Just like the Kadampa say, we need a pure motivation to start a practice and a pure dedication to close it. So of course, in both cases, we're going to generate bodhicitta, the wish to get enlightened for the welfare of all sentient beings as our good intention. But also the view that we have throughout the whole practice we're doing today should be one of emptiness. Things are dependent on origination and projected by our mind. And so good or bad, they're just all sort of projections of karma. So we don't get sort of attached to what we're producing here or the practice that we're doing today. Again, to see it's illusory dream-like quality, and then sort of sending it off sort of karmically for the benefit of all beings. Homage to the perfection of wisdom, the Blessed Mother. Thus I've heard at one time Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgir on a mass altars mountain, with a great assembly of monks and nuns and a great assembly of bodhisattvas. That time the Blessed One was absorbed in the concentration of countless aspects of phenomena called profound illumination. That time also Sri Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, was looking perfectly at the practice of profound perfection of wisdom, looking perfectly at the five aggregates being empty of inherent existence. Then the power of Buddha, Venerable Shariputra, said to Sri Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, how should a son of the lineage train who wishes to engage in the practice of the profound perfection of wisdom? Thus he spoke, and Sri Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, replied to Venerable Shariputra as follows. Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of the lineage wishes to engage in the practice of profound perfection of wisdom should look perfectly like this. Subsequently, looking perfectly and correctly at the five aggregates being empty in existence. Form is empty and emptiness is form. Emptiness is none other than form, and form is none other than emptiness. Likewise, feeling, discrimination, compositional factors, and consciousness are empty. Shariputra, like this, all phenomena are emptiness, having no characteristics. Not produced and do not cease. They have no defilement, no separation from defilement. They have no decrease and no increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness, there's no form, no feeling, no discrimination, no compositional factors, and no consciousness. There's no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mentality, no form, no sound, no smell, no taste, no tactile object, no phenomenon. There's no I element, and so forth, up to no mentality element, also up to no element of mental consciousness. There's no ignorance, no exhaustion of ignorance, and so forth, up to no aging and death, and no exhaustion of aging and death. Likewise, there's no suffering, origin, cessation, or path, no exalted awareness, no attainment, also no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there's no attainment, bodhisattvas rely on and abide the perfection of wisdom. The minds have no obstructions and no fear. Passing on and beyond perversity, they attain the final nirvana. Also, all Buddhas reside perfectly in the three times, having relied upon the perfection of wisdom, became manifest and complete Buddhas in the state of unsurpassed, perfect, and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of perfection of wisdom, the mantra of great knowledge, the unsurpassed mantra, the equal to the unequaled mantra, the mantra that thoroughly pacifies all sufferings, since it's not false, should be known as the truth. Mantra of perfection of wisdom is proclaimed, Tayata, Gata Gata Paragata Parasamgata Bodhisoha. Shariputra, Bodhisattva, great being, should train the profound perfection of wisdom like this. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and said to Sri Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, that had spoken well. Good, son, the lineage, it's like that. Since it's like that, just as you have revealed, in that way the profound perfection of wisdom should be practiced, and the Tathagatas will also rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, Venerable Shariputra, Sri Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva, the great being, the entire circle of disciples, as well as worldly beings, gods, demons, demigods, and spirits, and were delighted and highly praised what had been spoken by the Blessed One. Okay, so let's just sort of settle down here to do our practice. And doing the visualization for the refuge tree. I'm just getting some information here of Lama Chopa. Okay, so let's just visualize that we're seated in a wide open space and grounds like lapis. And I apologize for my breathing. I'm asthmatic and there's always problems. So if I'm coughing and whenever drinking water and stuff, I hope it's not too distracting. Anyway, we're seated in a wide open space here with ground like lapis lazuli, smooth, soft, easy to sit on, and surrounded by all sentient beings. So we can feel that our mother is representing sort of feminine energy of our bodies on our left, and our father seated on our right, showing the masculine side of our body here. People we love the most behind us as support, people we like the least or have issues with in front of us as objects of compassion. And we can feel just in all directions. As far as the eye can see, they're all sentient beings of the 6 realms of cyclic existence, people from all over the world, different places and backgrounds, countless sentient beings in the animal realm, just from the very small to the very big, just in the sky, the earth, and the seas. You can just think of just how it's almost an unlimited number of animals and insects and so forth, sentient beings in this realm, that need the blessings and healing of Dharma. And we can just feel that it's almost like the big sort of Mother Earth ecosystem of all these animals and beings are with us. Celestial beings, different gods and demigods, countless spirit beings in the 6 realms, as well as between them, and sort of bardo intermediary states between the 6 realms. You can just feel beings from the astral and ethereal realms are here with us too. And countless sentient beings that are in lower states of rebirth. These being hungry ghosts or preta beings, as well as hell beings from different hells. And this is in LamRim, they talk about hot hells, cold hells, neighboring hells, resembling hells, and so forth. So we're all here together. Now the sky above us, just like the sky outside here, just beautiful, beautiful sunny sky. Clear without a cloud in the sky. You can visualize the merit field for Lama Chopa. So if you're having problems visualizing all the details here, we can just visualize the central figure, which I'll describe, just like a sun. If even that's difficult, you can just feel just like a ball of light, sort of representing sort of all the holy beings or light beings, ultimately your own enlightened nature. But for people who like sort of the challenging and doing the details, we'll go through them right now. So we can just feel that in the sky, just all made of lighter energy coming out of Lake Manasarovar, is beautiful tree, like a giant world tree, like maple tree, oak, or ash tree. Feel that energy. And in it are all the holy beings from Lama Chopa refuge tree, the tradition. So central figure, which is going to be the biggest one, sort of in the center of the tree. Like Robert Thurman says, it's kind of like a Christmas tree of all different ornaments, lights, and toys, and so forth. So it's the center big one here in the tree, made out of light, is our Ruku, and the aspect of Lama Loseng Tubing Dorjichan. So sort of threefold being of Tsongkhapa, a founding saint of our tradition, the Gelugpa tradition, the Gelugpa tradition, so to speak, and different synonyms for this. And that his heart, Tubang, which is Buddha Shakyamuni, and that Buddha Shakyamuni's heart is the divine couple of Vajradhara and Vajradhara. So central figure, Tsongkhapa, a famous Tibetan saint. He's in the 3 robes of a monk with a yellow panda's hat. And he's has his left hand is in his lap holding a beggar bowl filled with medicinal nectar. And right hand is in the teaching mudra here, the index finger touching the thumb, holding a white lotus that blossoms around his right ear. He's in lotus position, and he's just like a big harvest moon in the center of this tree. Now at his heart is sort of going down, like I say, like little Russian dolls where you open them up and get the smaller ones going down. Next figure here is Buddha Shakyamuni, the Buddha in his form we usually see him as on the internet or on books or statues when you go to Buddhist countries and so forth. He's in lotus position wearing the 3 robes of a monk in a beautiful golden light. And he has a begging bowl of medicinal nectar in his left hand, and his right hand is in the subduing mudra of touching the earth. Now at his heart, even smaller, is his higher Sambhogakaya form, which is Vajradhara and Vajradhara, divine couple like 2 angels in sexual tantric embrace. And their beautiful sapphire blue bodies being of the pure lighter energy. And crowns Vajrayana is holding his arms crossed beyond Vajra, so she's straddling him in his lap, and he's holding, he's got a bell in his left hand, Dorji in his right, crossed his heart, and she's holding a skull cup with the selector left hand, right, is a curved knife, chopper knife, so a flaying knife. And they're wearing beautiful jewelry and wearing silks and so forth. Now on our left side are Buddha's Tsongkhapa and Buddha and Vajradhara's right side is the Buddha of loving kindness, so future universal Buddha Maitreya. He's standing in Bodhisattva form, and he's got a golden body in lotus position, wearing a crown. He's holding two white lotuses that blossom around the ears, and he's got the turn of the wheel of Dharma moved at his heart, with his fingers touch the thumbs, curved fingers outwards. And around him are men and women, all people who have taught the compassion teachings, or called the vast tradition of Buddhist teachings. So compassion, loving kindness, bodhicitta. In particular, the school of emptiness represented by these groups of gurus is the Yogacara mind-only school. So we can just feel that famous Saint Arya Sangha is there, Vasubandhu, and so forth. And on the other side, our right, or Buddha's left, is the Buddha of compassion, Buddha of wisdom, sorry, and Jashri and Bodhisattva form, very similar to the Buddha of loving kindness. So they sort of look the same. The only difference, really, when you look carefully, is what's on their lotuses are a little bit different. Either a flaming sword or a Dharma chakra, or so forth. But basically, they look the same. So he's got a golden energy body in lotus position, with his hands in the mudra of turning the wheel of Dharma, holding two white lotuses, and around him are all the men and women, all the people who have taught the wisdom teachings of Buddhism last 2,500 years. The wisdom realizing these teachings is called the profound tradition, profound lineage of Buddhist teachings. So in particular, we can think of great Saint Arya Nagarjuna and all his different students like Chandrakirti and so forth. So as an all sentient means, we're just kind of looking up. In the old days, I used to give the analogy of going into a drive-in movie theater, which of course doesn't exist anymore, but it would, yeah, I'm not too sure what kind of analogy I can have, but basically it's just like all sentient beings, we're all here and we're sort of witnessing this beautiful vision in the sky above us, being of a pure lighter energy that's just huge, like a big mural. Even just big if you went in New York to the Rockefeller Center at wintertime around Christmas, and you see the big Christmas tree there. It's kind of a similar kind of feel, producing great bliss and joy when you see it. So in front of Tsongkhapa, we can put our teachers, in particular group teachers of this life, and then coming down almost like rows in front of us, like an auditorium, we can just see all other holy beings. Just all different sort of colors and energies and so forth, all different Buddhas, Bodhisattvas, the kings, Arhats, and Dharmapalas and so forth. So Buddhas, light beings, like the Buddhas of the 4 classes of Tantra, the kings from the 24 places, 1,000 Buddhas of this, universal Buddhas of this fortunate, and Dharmapalas and so forth. And then above Tsongkhapa, we can visualize it's almost like 5 totem poles, or sort of like 5, I guess, kind of like this, on top of the head, and you can see representing lineages from Buddhist time, going right down to Tsongkhapa, pardon me, and then coming, just feel that from this energy in front of Tsongkhapa, our root teacher and teachers of this life, and then coming down into us, to our practice. And then if we become Dharma teachers one day, that lineage continues in and through us. So these 5 great lineages, particularly the 5 great tantric lineages in the group of traditions. The first one on the side is the Buddha of Power, Vajrapani in its higher form, Goya Samaja, with his partner, and they have beautiful sort of dark blue bodies in lotus position, with 6 arms. Next one over is Buddha of Compassion, Avalokiteshvara in his higher form, is Rupa Chakra Samvara, two-armed, holding Dorje bell, and standing up in a tantric embrace with red Vajragini, holding his curved knife and skull cup. The Whispered Ear lineage of Mahamudra teachings on the emptiness of the mind is represented just by Vajradhara, this time solo, and he's in lotus position, round blue-colored body, holding Dorje bell. And then all the gurus being in the form of Manjushri, the Buddha of Wisdom. So all of them have orange golden energy bodies with flaming swords in the right hand, and left hand is holding a white lotus at their left sort of blossoms at left shoulder with the Prajnaparamita text on it. Next one over, making the fourth lineage here, being Atisha, Pandita Atisha, Indian guru, 3 rows of monk, yellow pants hat, and lotus position. 16 heart drop teachings of the Kadampas, all the tantric teachings, and really just brought into Tibet in the 11th century by Atisha. And then finally, the Buddha of Wisdom in his highest form, Yanantaka, sort of destroyer of death, death terminator, so to speak, and he's in dark blue body, sort of on fire with a great big bull's head, holding a curved knife and skull cup. And all the gurus coming down from him, vintage Tsongkhapa. So a beautiful refuge tree here. We can just take refuge here. I and all sentient beings, to which you line equal refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, to which you line equal refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. I and all sentient beings, to which you line equal refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. The virtues we collect by giving the perfections may become Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving the perfections may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. Through the virtues we collect by giving other perfections may we become a Buddha for the benefit of all. So taking refuge, we just receive blessings now, beautiful white lights and energies coming down from the hearts of all the gurus and Buddhas here. We can just feel like it's a white light energy coming down into all sentient beings around us. And for us, it's just streams of light and nectar, sort of like almost like little strings coming in, little needles of light coming to our crown filled with nectar. And all this white energy all around us is purifying us and all sentient beings of all of our negativities, obscurations, and obstructions, flushing out all the bad energy and suffering, negativities, so forth, in the form of black smoke, or soot, rancid oil, whatever have you, and just making our bodies completely clean, clear, transparent, and pure. This is in particular getting rid of obstacles we have to take in true refuge. True refuge, we can think from the LamRim point of view, is taking refuge in the Dharma jewel, in particular, which is our own inner wisdom, which is a wisdom that understands the unity of karma and emptiness. That is sort of the ultimate refuge that we're taking refuge in. The fact that everything is empty, our mind is empty, and so can be anything. And so if it can be anything, we want it to be virtuous and full of love and compassion and so forth. So the color turns to a golden color now of lights and energies coming down, filling us all with that love and wisdom and compassion, spiritual attainments and realizations. Now, generating the four measurables: measurable love, compassion, equanimity, joy, and equanimity. So we can just feel, again, the golden lights coming down into us, sort of flowing from our hearts outward to all sentient beings. Generating love, which means we want all sentient beings to be happy. Just think that we love them so much, we want to see them happy, almost like sort of our own kids wanting them to be happy. based on the fact that we want them to be happy, we see that they're not, so they're suffering, so we want to relieve them of that suffering and help heal them. That's the compassion. And joy, just sort of the powerful, positive power, spiritual power, in particular the joy of sort of everlasting bliss of nirvana and full enlightenment. And equanimity, just feel that sort of being beyond hatred and attachment, rather than having sort of a closed, ego-centered sort of attitude towards sentient beings. We're going to have the opposite attitude. We're just very sort of balanced and open and caring and friendly with all beings. Now, making our path officially Buddhist here, or sort of that practice officially Buddhist, we're just going to generate the 7 limb practice, prostration, offering, confession, rejoicing, requesting Buddhas to stay, requesting them to teach, and dedication. So again, just the first thing, prostration, just we can just visualize ourselves doing prostrations, showing signs of devotion and respect. The big refuge tree here, with our root teacher and all Buddhas. Seeing that they're the expression of our highest divine potential. So they're the things that are the most highest object of our reverence and devotion and respect. We see them as being the most sacred things. Offerings, so again, you can visualize making offerings to the refuge tree and how all sacred beings around us doing the same thing. So we can do like Samantabhadra and emanate out from our heart, billions of flowers, just sort of flower petals falling from the sky. Offering out lights, lamps, candles, and so forth to offer light, auspicious offering. Confession, just confessing, sort of declaring, sort of acknowledging, owning all of our shortcomings, our bad character faults, all the ways we fail ourselves and fail others. We know what they are, and if we don't, if they're kind of unconscious or in a blind spot, people that love us and are closest to us are always happy to remind you what they are. So we sort of know the sort of bundle of things that we have to work on and let go to sort of drop and heal and so forth, and sort of make that commitment, acknowledge that, and sort of own that here in front of the Buddhas. At the same time, we can rejoice in our own virtue of doing this meditation together and all the amazing spiritual and wonderful qualities of all the Buddhas and holy beings and all the goodness in the world and virtue and all the little acts of kindness, love, generosity, compassion, and so forth around the world. Rejoice in that. Offering from our hearts, you can just feel that we're offering up a white square lion throne that sort of floats up and dissolves into Tsongkhapa's lion throne, as well as a golden 8-spoked Dharma chakra that sort of floats up. And we're asking Buddhas always, and our gurus, most of our root guru, always stay with us and teach us Dharma. So guide us. We're sort of lost in the woods here. We don't have a map. If we have a map, we don't know how to read it. It's dark and so forth. So we want a guide who has an understanding of the map, or it supplies us with the map as well as the flashlight and supplies and so forth to help us make this journey to enlightenment. So please always, we're creating the karma to always have these spiritual guides in our life, that we don't sort of shut ourselves off from that and get lost in our own delusions and negativity. And finally, dedicating all of our virtue and all of our practice, even today, towards the enlightenment. Now Finally, last offering, we can just offer the mandala here. Just purified universe, holding it at your heart. Visualizing just all things in the world being beautiful. Bright, bold, beautiful, so to speak, purified. Flowers falling, we can visualize the Vedic universe being held in our hands if you like. Otherwise, just visualize that this whole universe is now pure and beautiful and sublime. No sufferings or defilements or contamination or anything. And we offer this up as an offering to our Guru and all holy beings. So the ground sprinkled with perfume, spread with flowers, four mountain, four lands, sun and moon, seen as a Buddha land, and offered thus. Enjoy such pure. Om Idam Guru Radha Mandala. And again, from the heart of all holy beings, again, just visualizing golden lights and nectars coming down, blessing us, inspiring us, making our minds positive and open, powerful and creative, affirmative, not closed, sort of disassociated, small, angry, frustrated, reactive, resentful, powerless. So rather than a plant sort of dying and sort of crumpling all up or whatever, this feels just almost like in the sun, a flower blooming, or sort of little shoots coming up through the earth. Yeah, I'm just going to recite the prayer to receive blessings from the Mahamudra lineage, Gelugpa Mahamudra lineage. Rinpoche has translated this. There's a few sources of this where you can find this. Happy to make it available. But I'm just going to use his recent translation. This is to the Insa hearing lineage of Mahamudra from Tsongkhapa, from Manjushri to Lama Mapa and Tsongkhapa, and then onwards to our teachers and to us. Namo Mahamudra Ya, homage to Prajnaparvati, the great mother of all Buddhas, glorious primordial Buddha, principle of the Buddha family, spontaneous pervasive mansion with three kayas. I pray for all pervasive Lord, the great Vajradhara. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, unity of bliss and emptiness. You are the holy teacher of all the Buddhas of the three times, dwelling in the perfect pure lands of the Buddhas of the 10 directions. I pray to Manjushri, whose wisdom is supreme among all the Aryas. Here in the northern land of snows, you're the second Buddha for the preservation of Dharma. I pray to the most holy Losang Tsongkhapa, perfect teacher. You're the principal holder of the practice lineage of Lama Tsongkhapa, the true heart son Manjushri. I pray to the great yogi Togden Japa Gyatso. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum, my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, bliss and emptiness. You open treasures like the ear-whispered lineage teachings. By your kindness, you ripen the minds from the fortunate disciples. I pray to Holy Basachukki Yeltsin. After uncover the two yogic stages of Vajradhara, you attain the Vajra body beyond death. I pray to Great Master Drupa Chen Chogadorje. You abandon completely the bondage of the 8 worldly dharmas, or spiritual materialism. You're the holder of the highest banner of the absolute dharma truth. I pray to Losang Dondro Ben Sapa. In the supreme joyful palace of the 3 Buddha Kayas, you're the spiritual guide who dances with saffron robes. I pray to you, fully enlightened one in one lifetime, Sangha Yeshe. May be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, bliss and emptiness. Knowing all phenomena, the holder of Lama Tsongkhapa's teachings, you're no different from the holy being of Nisant Losang Drapa. I pray to the most holy Losang Chukyi Gyaltsen, first Panchen Lama, but his entire teaching, sutras, chantras, and commentaries. You condense them beautifully, showing how to practice effectively. I pray to the great Master Gendon Gyaltsen, extracting the essence nectar of Losang Gyalwa Tsongkhapa's teaching. By a great perseverance, you showed how to enjoy the practice. I pray to the great Master Gyaltsen Zimpa. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, the bliss and emptiness. The profound and extensive Dharma essence you taught for the fortunate ones. I pray to Tantric Abbot Kuncho Gyaltsen. For the benefit of all beings in the preservation of Dharma, you incarnated again, graciously like the Venerable Losang Chukyi Gyaltsen himself. I pray to the Holy Venerable Losang Yeshe, Panchen Losang Yeshe. Blessed by the true Buddha, you have achieved the profound path of oral transmission. I pray the great Mahasiddha Losang Trinling, accomplished essence of J. Losang Gawa's ear whispered lineage. Practice and action, I pray to the great Siddha Losang Amgyal. You taught Lama Tsongkhapa's ear whispered lineage teachings perfectly without error. I pray to the great and kind master, Kachin Yeshe Gyaltsen. May be blessed to cut the mental continuum of self-grasping, to generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, the union, bliss, and emptiness. You spread the essence of the complete, perfect path to central and distant lands. I pray to Venerable Nawa Jampal, glorious primordial Buddha wearing saffron robes, who nurtured the sentient beings of China and Tibet. I pray to Panchen Lama Palten Yeshe, who have achieved the realization of the sublime path of Sutra and Tantra. By a single point of contemplation, I pray to the learned and great yogi Namwing Dorje, who are highly skilled in the illuminating path of Dharma, like the second Buddha himself. Especially in teaching and composition, I pray to Venerable Nucha Dharmabhadra. May you bless to cut the mental continuum of self-grasping, to generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, the union, bliss, and emptiness. Your compassionate eyes never close, and your profound and immense wisdom is like Manjushri's. I pray to you, Yenchen Drupi Dorje. After perfecting the yoga of bliss and voidness, you have reached the palace of Tsongkhapa. I make request of the great learned one, Siddha Tenzin Sundrum. After perfecting the realization of the profound Shunyata path, you upheld the banner of study and contemplation. I pray to Losang Sunan Gyaltsen. Holding a banner which represents the three levels of Buddhist teachings, you are perfectly pure without any stains of immoral conduct. I pray to the most holy being, Losang Donyo Drupa. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of self-grasping, to generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, the union, bliss, and emptiness. You, like the second Buddha, Tsongkhapa, reincarnated again as a monk in saffron robes. I pray to the most kind and pure being, Gelugpa Gyatso. The immense and profound path that is treasury of Dharma, you pervade the teaching and practice for all fortunate ones. I pray to the most kind Guru, Namwing Jampal. With stainless logic and debate, which clarifies our minds, you reveal the sublime path beyond the two extremes. I pray to the skillful teacher, Jimmy Wangpo. The incomparable and the unequaled master explains the lineage and practice of Lord Manjushri Tsongkhapa. I pray to the holy Guntai Temi Dorme. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of self-grasping, to generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, union, bliss, and emptiness. By tasting Amrita, the Gandhaniya whispered teachings of Jamgon Lama, the strength of realization of Dharmakaya became even more powerful. I pray to the holy Concha Gyaltsen. We have contemplated the sacred teachings of Ganden practice lineage, remaining pristine in wilderness for long periods of time. I pray to the great Mahasiddha Nontra Ramten. Accomplishing methods of awareness on abandonment and actualizing, you shower down abundant Dharma of excellent explanation. I pray to the highest Dharma teacher, Ganden Gyatso. Your wisdom shines like the crown jewel among great masters. As your attainment of the two stages of Vajrayana is supreme, I pray to you, glorious Pandit Temi Nyingma. May be blessed by the mental continuum of my self-grasping, to generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, union, bliss, and emptiness. Due to the power of your loving kindness for all sentient beings, you upheld the banner of Lord Buddha's teachings, Sutra and Tantra. I pray to Jepabanka Dechiningmo, Jampa Tenzin Trinling Gyatso. You propagate the holy Dharma, scripture, method of gaining realizations, the way wished for by countless victorious Buddhas. I pray to incomparable Yonsen Ling Rinpoche, Tubden Lunta Namgyal Trinley. Clear light of your holy mind, the treasure house of second Buddha Losang Drakpa shines on fortunate disciples like myself. I pray to the most kind Rukru, Kabji Chijang Dorje Chan, Losang Yeshe. May I be blessed to cut the mental continuum of my self-grasp and generate metta, karuna, bodhicitta, and compassion, and soon attain the highest state of Mahamudra, the union, bliss, and emptiness. May be blessed me to develop aversion towards samsara. May you bless me to take upon myself responsibility for liberating all sentient beings. May I soon achieve the unified path of common and uncommon attainments, and particularly the great path of Mahamudra. May you bless me with the confidence to see my body and my Guru's body as one. May you bless me with the confidence to see my speech and the Guru's speech as one. May you bless me with confidence to see my mind and Guru's holy mind as inseparable, here and now. Also going to just do the requests again. You can just focus on the refuge tree. In particular, making requests. This is from the Lama Chopa, which is, I'm just reciting the request to the Gurus. In particular, just focusing on the central figure, Tsongkhapa, Buddha, and Vajradhara Vajradhara. Let's make sort of heartfelt requests to our root Guru for inspiration and blessing here. We make our request to you, O holders of the Elders Vinaya, O Master Second Buddha, is clad in saffron. You brim with the treasure of jewels and much hearing, and are a source of excellence and immense ocean of moral discipline. We make our request to you, Mahayana Gurus, Lords of the Dharma, representing the victorious ones without exception. We possess the 10 qualities that render you suitable guides along the path of those who have gone to bliss. We make our request to you foremost holders of the Vajra. You're skilled in explaining and composing, are endowed with both sets of 10 qualities and a knowledge of Tantra and its rituals. You are honorable, without pretense of guile, patient, broad-minded, and 3 doors well subdued. We make our request to you compassionate refuge protectors. With precision, you impart the good way of those gone to bliss. To the unruly beings of this genered age who are difficult to curb and not tamed by the countless Buddhas of the past. We make our request to you compassionate refuge protectors. You enact the deeds of the victorious ones for the many beings who lack to protect their refuge. At this time, the sunlight teachings of the sage are setting. We make our request to you, compassionate refuge protectors. Even a single hair from your pores is for us a field of merit or highly praised from the victorious Buddhas of the 3 times and 10 directions. We make our request to you, compassionate refuge protectors. From an intricate lattice of mirage-like skillful means, emblazed with 3 body wheels of those gone to bliss, you manifest an orderly guise to lead all beings. We make our request to you, supreme gurus, the essence of 3 jewels of refuge. Your aggregates, elements, and sensory bases and limbs are in nature the fathers and mothers, male and female bodhisattvas, and are the wrathful protectors of the 5 Buddha families. We make our request to you, protectors of primordial unity, foremost holders of the Vajra, all pervading lords of hundreds of Buddha families, unfolded from the play of omniscient pristine awareness. You're the quintessence of 10 million mandala cycles. We make our request to you, immaculate Samanta Bhadra, who in reality the ultimate Bodhicitta, for your beginning or end, the nature of all things pervading everything at motion and at rest, inseparable from a simultaneous bliss and play without obstruction. You are our gurus, you are our yidams, you are our dakinis and dharma protectors. From this moment into our enlightenment, we seek no refuge other than you. In this life, the barred in all future lives. Hold us with the hook of your compassion. Free us from samsara nirvana spheres. Grant all attainments be our unfailing friend and guard us from all interferences. So we can just feel that upon this request here, and just heartfelt devotion, we receive the blessings of sort of 4 empowerments here. So from the heart, from the crown, Tsongkhapa and all the beings in the refuge, beautiful snow white light, nectars are coming down, dissolving into our crown, the crowns of all beings around us. It's the karma to receive, just feel like, first of all, it's purifying our bodily karmas, in particular the 3 karmas of killing, stealing, sexual misconduct, and so forth. All sort of contamination, impurities in our body will be flushed away. Body's beautiful, sort of glowing white light. And we're receiving the karma to receive the Nirmanakaya, or emanation body of the Buddhas. Feelers, feeling great, great bliss and happiness and joy. This empowerment. Now, from the throats of all the holy beings in the tree, ruby red light's coming down into our throat, throats of all the beings around us. Whole body sort of glowing ruby red energy now. Our speech is purified. Just feel like gossip, hurtful speech, divisive speech, lying, so forth, all sort of negative things we do with our words, and so forth, with our sort of public behavior. All this is being purified. And we're receiving the karma to manifest the Sambhogakaya, angelic body of the Buddhas. Your great bliss with this. Now, from holy beings, light beings, from their hearts into our heart, sort of lapis blue light, our whole body sort of becoming lapis blue now, pure energy. Mind is being purified, in particular, just think of our covetousness, all of our attachment going. And our malice, any sort of negative reactive thoughts, all the bad thoughts we have towards ourselves and others. Malice is sort of defined as wanting others to suffer, just wanting to sort of make them unhappy and suffer because we feel that. All that is getting flushed away. And we have the karma now to manifest the wisdom truth body of the Buddhas, the Dharmakaya body of the Buddhas. That Buddha's mind is meditating on emptiness directly and seeing all objects in the universe occurs simultaneously, individually as well. And now finally, last one, white, red, and blue, lights and nectars from the Buddha's and our Guru's crown, throat, and heart. Go into our crown, throat, and heart. Our whole body's filled with white, red, and blue energy. Body, speech, and mind purified. Again, the seed and karma is for the Solvava Akikaya body, which is the what they call, I have a hard time pronouncing that, is the nature or entity body of the Buddhas, sort of the natureless nature, so to speak. In other words, that the fourth body of the Buddhas is the emptiness of the other three. This represents the cessation part of Dharmakaya, cessation of all suffering. And really, we can start dissolving the merit field here. So just feel that in front of us, almost just like mist that's sort of being blown away in the wind. We can see everything sort of starting to dissolve. Just the whole sort of vision before us. And when a lake is still and the sun's being reflected on it, it's very, very beautiful. But if you get a wind coming up and making waves, it starts to break up that image of the sun. You can sort of see that the same way here. So we can just feel that the Lake Banasarovar, beautiful refuge tree, all start to melt in golden light, dissolve into the holy beings. All the Buddhas and holy beings and our gurus of this life in front of Tsongkhapa all melt in the golden light and sort of dissolve into our main root teacher of this light, who then melts into sort of the ball of golden light and dissolves into Tsongkhapa. On either side, all the profound path and vast path gurus dissolve into Manjushri. Trail who become balls of golden light that sort of dissolve inward into Tsongkhapa. And now above Tsongkhapa, the five sort of lines or sort of lineages, Buddhas and gurus here all sort of melt to downward and dissolve into Tsongkhapa's heart. So then we just have the central figure, Lo Sentube Dorjichan. So Tsongkhapa now starts to melt into golden light and dissolves inward into his heart, into Buddha. Buddha melts into light and dissolves in his heart and the mind couple Vajradhara and Vajradhatushvara. And they get really small in the sky, like a little blue sapphire diamond. And they float down the crown of our head. Chakra. And start to dissolve, sort of following our spine, just our central channel, and downwards, and dissolve into our heart. All energy, all the wisdom, compassion, power of Buddhas goes directly into our heart. Great joy and bliss. Slowly coming out of meditation here. Okay. Sort of relax here. And, just have a quick teaching just today on renunciation, the first of the three principal paths. So just got a few notes, just a few little pointers out that you can think about and meditate on today. And, when class is over, taking it into your day-to-day life. So I believe, I remember for Asian Classics Institute, when we're getting sort of a definition of renunciation, there's a bunch of different Tibetan terms. So basically, that's what are you renouncing? Is you're renouncing the state of korwa, or circle of life. Sache is the Tibetan for impurity, and then it means to take on. Tungbo means the 5 skandhas. Ju means stream. Yang means me. Yangdu, which is over and over again. And pa, which is take, and ni means that's what. So what is samsara? Basically, it's what you're sort of in what renunciation is that you're renouncing samsara, or the circle of life, which is the fact that it's the impurity of having to take on the 5 skandhas of your body and your mind in the stream of sort of uncontrolled karma over and over again. So basically, what does that mean? It means we have to take on an impure skandhas again and again. The stream of doing this again and again is a korwa, or circle. It's by the force of your karma and bad thoughts. This is precisely what we're renouncing. So liberation from samsara means you are no longer forced to take on this dirty body and mind. So how can we unpack this? Actually, I was just, a friend of mine called me today, just here in Japan, and we were talking a little bit about, she had some questions about meditation, and I wanted to talk about sort of what samsara was. So we were talking about this ironically just a few hours ago. So we're going to go on a little bit more detail about what this means, but just as sort of a general operating definition about what samsara, we always use that term samsara, and suffering and so forth. But there's sort of a specific definition of it that you get in particular towards the end of the intermediate scope of LamRim. The sort of intermediate scope of LamRim begins with suffering, true sufferings of samsara, where you show that there is really no place within samsara that you can find happiness or any peace, no matter where you reincarnate and so forth, whether you're down in hell or in sort of with the gods, it's all the same kind of thing. So at this point in the intermediate scope, they present you with teachings of the wheel of life, and the 12 dependent links of dependent origination. And so that's sort of the thing, is that when you study what samsara is, what true sufferings is, you have to study the wheel of life and see how it operates. And then the take-home message is that you will sort of practice the 3 higher trainings of moral discipline, concentration, and wisdom realizing emptiness. And there's sort of, you start with moral discipline, or controlling your mind through good ethics, making yourself a sincere, wholesome person. This allows you to be mindful and concentrate your mind, which allows you to practice concentrated meditation. Taking that mind of concentrated meditation, you can then have sort of a higher concentrated mind. They say basically in the form realm, God realm, sort of this complete non-conceptual mind, and meditate on emptiness, the lack of inherent existence of all phenomena. This is what releases you from samsara and allows you to enter nirvana, the extinction of all that suffering. So the sort of definition you get at renunciation, that's sort of in those teachings, is that what are you renouncing? Samsara. What samsara is basically the uncontrolled cycle of birth, old age, sickness, and death. The uncontrolled cycle of being forced through your own karma and bad thoughts, your own delusions, without choice, to constantly over and over again take a body, an organic body of flesh and blood without control, and to suffer and to die. So it's being sort of every time you're born, you grow, you get old, you fall apart, you die, then karma and bad thoughts sort of push you in this momentum of energy to take another body and to sort of go through the whole thing, just either sort of good states of rebirth or bad states of rebirth. In fact, it's just kind of like a Ferris wheel turning over and over and over again. So it's this idea of having that your incarnation, your embodiment is uncontrolled. You have no control. It's being forced on you by your bad thoughts, by your delusions, and your karma from the past. So that's why when you look at the wheel of life in those sort of classic Tibetan tankas, they have Yama, Lord of Death, sort of like the Hades or gatekeeper of the lower realms or whatever. He's like the monster, and he's holding the wheel of life. And in it, you see the 12 dependent related links. You see the 6 realms of samsara, see a whole bunch of things. You have Buddha pointing at the moon, the sun, showing the 3 higher teachings. But the most important thing really is to see that what Yama is holding is a mirror. So you're looking at a mirror. You're actually looking at yourself. The 12 dependent related links, the 6 realms, the sort of 3 upper realms, 2 lower realms, all the sort of information you get in the wheel of life is actually your reflection. So this is what I was talking to my friend about. Samsara, we tend to sort of think of samsara somehow being external to us, that, you know, it's just the fact that there's suffering in the world, life sucks, there's all sorts of problems and obstacles. But the deeper understanding of samsara is that it's you. It's the very fact that you have contaminated 5 aggregates, body, speech, and mind, your whole organic body and mind complex, which, because they're produced and impermanent, that's what allows them to be produced, necessarily start to fall apart the moment they've come together. And the suffering is that. So that's the sort of more subtle form of what Buddha talks about, meaning, you know, the 3 levels of suffering. There's coarse suffering, which is cancer, war, famine, all this kind of stuff, old age, sickness, death. Subtle, more subtler form of suffering, which is suffering of change, at the fact that everything is constantly impermanent or changing. And so we're always, like Trungpa Rinpoche would say, we're always uncomfortable. We're always dissatisfied. We're always in a state of trying to sort of fill a hole in our life where there's sort of a deep anxiety and angst, where we're always sort of offset or I guess sort of decentered or off, that sort of feeling you always have, that sort of existential angst of always feeling not at home, not comfortable, not, it's almost like, you know, you've got a bike with a faulty wheel, or you're, you know, you go to the restaurant and the table's kind of isn't sort of centered or whatever, it's all wobbly. That's kind of what every moment of your life is like, you know, whether you admit it or not, or whether you can sort of see it or not. And that's why the old translation of the term dukkha is sort of like an axle of a chariot that's broken or off or warped. Like I always like to say, it's the alignment of your car. So if the alignment's off in your car, you can never let go of the steering wheel. Otherwise, it'll start to sort of drift into the other lane, into the ditch. That basically you're always off in your life. There's always that undercurrent of dissatisfaction and suffering, because basically you want everything to be the same, whereas everything's changing, just like sand going through your fingers. So that sort of attachment delusions we have with our mind is running counter to the very nature of life and the very nature of our own body, which, because it's organic, is falling apart. This leads us to sort of the deeper version, I guess, of suffering, which is pervasive suffering. And Buddha says it's so subtle, it's like a hair in the palm of your hand. Someone puts a little hair in it, you don't feel it, right? And then they say, once you realize that it's like hair being put in your eye, when you get a little eyelash in your eye, it hurts. Once you see this level of suffering, there's kind of no turning back. You see that there's nothing you can do about it. It's basically a bucket with a hole in it. It's always going to be leaking. It's not fixable. So when we practice Tantra in particular, they say Tantra is where you cut through the 5 contaminated aggregates to sort of replace them with the 5 enlightened aggregates, or 5 Dhyani Buddhas of the 5 families, or the 5 Dhyani Buddhas, which represent your enlightened skandhas. So basically you have to cut through the samsara of your delusions and karma and contaminated actions and contaminated aggregates. They can't be fixed. You have to replace them. Okay, and Tantra means continuity. That how we're able to replace is that the mind itself, in terms of that one aggregate, which is consciousness, has no nature, and so it's pure. And so the other ones can be purified off, and this allows you to have a foundation to be able to transform it into an enlightened state. Into the five Dhyani Buddhas arise as the 5 omniscient wisdoms from this mind. So the thread or continuity between you as a sentient being suffering with an organic body and an angelic, immortal body of the Buddhas, made of pure light and energy, that isn't subject to these conditions of samsara. That's possible, going from one to the other, because the mind itself, which is just clear and cognizing and has no nature, is the bridge that allows you to do that. That's and in each moment that's always there. This allows you to do this. So basically what samsara is you are samsara. Your 5 contaminated aggregates, your body, speech, and mind, the fact that you have an organic body, speech, and mind that's destined to fall apart and to suffer, that's what samsara is. And when that's, here I am at middle age, believe me, I know it's true. When this falls apart and then you die, karma makes you take rebirth again, basically in a variation, the same kind of thing. And this goes on and on and on and on until you get, basically teachings on the 4 Arya truths, right? The 4 noble truths. This is the first truth of suffering. Now we see what the second truth is, the origins. Where is this suffering coming from? From our delusions and from our negative karma. True cessation. If something's turned on, you can turn it off. Everything is cause, so we have to turn off the bad causes and turn off the good causes. That's our cessations. By practicing the positive karma, purifying our mind, that we stop that suffering and promote the virtue that karmically has positive products. How do we do that? That's the final of the fourth noble truth, which is the Eightfold Path, true paths. There's a whole instruction book or map, well, basically like a set of instructions that allows you to do that. Trungpa Rinpoche always said, if no one's ever shown you the way, it's not your fault that you got lost. So basically, if you got some big complicated IKEA furniture and it didn't come with the instructions and you're stubborn, you're like, well, I'm not going to bother looking at it, I'm going to try and figure this out by myself, you're never going to be able to build that bed or, well, it's going to be difficult. I mean, maybe you're never going to be able, I'm just trying to use an analogy here, but the instruction, if you don't have the instructions, you're probably going to screw it up. And even if you can get it to work, it's not going to be at its best. That's what samsara is. That's what true ignorance is. We've never been taught these teachings on karma and emptiness. And so how do we know that everything's our mind, everything our projection? How do we know how to switch a diluted body of flesh and organic body of flesh and blood that falls apart for an angelic sort of diamond body, the Buddha said never does. This is why you find Buddhism and Tantric teachings and LamRim and so forth that give you the instruction set for this. So I remember one thing I wrote here from the Shamanic, which is good, is that basically you have to escape from yourself. Renunciation means that you're basically renouncing yourself insofar as what yourself, as it's represented to yourself, are these 5 contaminated aggregates. The fact that you are forced to take them on again and again and again without choice, that's what you're renouncing. And basically, you can't have bodhicitta or even wisdom realizing emptiness for the most part without an understanding of renunciation. If you don't know your suffering, if you don't take your suffering seriously, if you're not engaged or committed with sort of getting rid of this fundamental existential problem, how can you ever do it for anybody else? Okay, so there we go. Thank you very much. So think about that. And again, your renunciation is the foundation for all of your spiritual practice. I know with LamRim, I know His Holiness Captain Dzongkapa Rinpoche used to say that you don't even enter the initial scope of LamRim. Like you can't even take refuge as a Buddhist, which means you can't even really call yourself a Buddhist unless you have renunciation. Refuge is out of fear of suffering, I turn towards the refuge, the umbrella, the tree, and the rainstorm of the teachings on karma and emptiness. Unless you have understanding the suffering, you won't be able to turn away for it. So renunciation is an understanding of what samsara is, and samsara is not independent of yourself. Somewhere out there, some sort of thing you can blame for your problems. It's the very nature of the situation that you're in. You yourself are the problem, but the good thing is you yourself are the solution. That's the good thing. Within the 5 contaminated aggregates is the one aggregate consciousness, which is your mind. Everything's your mind. When you work on that, that's how you get to nirvana. Okay, so let's take a moment just to, pardon me, to make a dedication for this. Taking all this together, all of our merit, all of our virtue, everything we've done together. Let's dedicate this for the enlightenment of all sentient beings. So blessings of all holy beings. Truth of karma, of cause and effects, and the power of our pure superior intention of bodhicitta. May all sentient beings reach awakening. Okay, thank you. See you next time.